Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD and it's time for another HD Pro Game broadcast. I just came back from vacation where I went up to Tahoe and I actually almost broke my ribs going down a very steep hill, which I probably shouldn't have been on. I was snowboarding and I'm not the best snowboarder, and I guess going down Black Diamond when you're not a good snowboarder isn't a very good idea. So I did almost break my ribs, but I have recovered enough to actually be able to cast a game. I was waiting because I didn't want to wheeze and cough my way through one of these games. And I'm finally back here to cast a game between IdrA and WhiteRa, also known as WhiteRa. And this is actually in a new tournament called the Intel Extreme Masters, which I believe runs every couple of months, every month or something like that. And it is, of course, sponsored by Intel themselves, called the IEM, short for Intel Extreme Masters. This is one of the games between WhiteRa and IdrA, and this is, I believe, a best of 3 series. So both these players will be spawning on which seems to be the classic map Metalopolis. And it looks like they're going to be starting off this game pretty soon here as the Overlord already starts to creep over from IdrA. Everybody, of course, knows IdrA, the player out there who has a very big confidence that goes with his game style, and he's extremely good at macro game Zerg. But he's also somewhat of a, if he loses the game, he can definitely get on the rage bus, and he can really get on, he's kind of like, if you guys play poker, I suppose he's like the Phil Hellmuth of poker. So he's definitely, he's got a big ego with his game, but he's also a very good player. On the other side, we also have WhiteRa, aka WhiteRa, old school player from Brood War, very good, obviously. He is going to be the blue Protoss down here at the 6 o'clock position, excuse me. And it looks like he is going to be throwing up just a couple of his buildings, everything looking very standard for both these players. Now, I do want to say, while I was out, I did notice that Blizzard went ahead and released a new patch. So that's very interesting. I guess Blizzard has finally realized that it's time for a couple of new maps. I guess they really finally, maybe they watch my videos, I don't know. Maybe they finally realized that, yes, I've been begging for new maps in the map pool, and voila, Blizzard has released, I believe, 3 new maps in the 1v1 ladder map pool, and I have been super excited to try them out. I haven't actually gotten a chance yet, so my plan is, after the cast these games, is hopefully get on Battle.net and do a couple of 1v1s and maybe do a couple of daily ladders on the new ladder maps. I'm very excited to see how those games work out. I was actually, I actually saw my cousin playing, and I saw the maps, but I didn't really get to play it out yet. So I'm very excited about the new maps that Blizzard has put out. I can't wait to give them a shot. And I think that's what I'm going to be doing after this game broadcast of IdrA and WhiteRa, which so far right now everything seems to be looking pretty standard. I don't see anything really crazy as of yet. Obviously, this map very played, very overplayed already, I would say, to the point where players know builds so well that everything has become super standard. So really, unless there's some kind of a cheesy opening, this game is pretty much identical so far to most games that we see ZVP on Metalopolis. In fact, we do have the second gateway coming up here, and what WhiteRa needs to do is get rid of this drone so that IdrA does not know what kind of technology WhiteRa is going for. And it looks like he will be able to pick off the drone pretty easily here. The drone is going to be in the red, and it gets picked off before the next building comes up, and it is going to be another gateway. So I think WhiteRa here will either go for 3-gate into expansion, or he's going to go for a 4-gate. Obviously, either option is valid. It looks like, though, WhiteRa will go for 3-gate into Expo as he's throwing down his pylon at the front door, which obviously means that he wants to eventually secure this natural and get that kind of economy rolling for the late-game Protoss macro ball. Which late-game Protoss is one of the most difficult things to deal with, especially if the Zerg does not have that extra expansion over the Protoss, which at this time IdrA does have, but as soon as WhiteRa gets that expansion down, IdRA's going to have to think about getting a 3rd Expo somewhere on the map. So it looks like WhiteRa's actually got a Stalker here, a very brave Stalker. Will get picked off by Zerglings, though. The Stalker is trying to stalk its way back over to the Protoss main, but unfortunately for WhiteRa, the Zerglings do not have speed yet. Speed is still about 35 seconds away from finishing, as you guys see on the progress bar. So the Zerglings will be deflected, and the Stalker will remain alive. And it looks like WhiteRa is going to actually push out here. He's got a 4th Warp Gate coming up. Oh my god, he's actually transitioned into a 4-gate. I thought for sure WhiteRa was gonna go for a 3-gate into Expo, but no, he's actually saved up a ton of minerals here. He does have a pylon at the corner of his base, and he's actually gonna use the map to warp Zealots down below. Oh my god, this could be brutal. IdrA just finishing Zergling speed. It actually will be 3 sentries coming out, not 4 sentries coming out, not Zealots yet. So WhiteRa getting the sentries out first, but no doubt there are going to be 4 more Zealots coming out as soon as the warp gates finish. All chrono boosts being used on the warp gates right now, and IdrA knows that this is going to be it. He has to hold this off. He is building a spine crawl right now, and luckily for him, he does have 7 roaches on the way. So if he can hold off this attack, if he can wait for his roaches to come out, then I think he should be in a pretty dandy position. More Zealots warping in, but WhiteRa not reinforcing them yet. They're still kind of chilling back there. It looks like a force field's gonna get landed on the ramp, and that is just brutal because now no more forces for IdrA can get down this ramp. A couple more force fields preventing the retreat of the roaches that spawned at the natural. The question is, does WhiteRa have enough to do this? He actually just barely missed his second force field. A couple Zerglings were able to leak by as the gateways were, as the warp gates were, the force fields were lowered. So it looks like WhiteRa will once again continually keep that force field up. He is doing very good damage right now, but more roaches are spawning out, and WhiteRa is not really reinforcing. He's got a stalker here or there, but his reinforcements of units are not doing the best job. It looks like this Zealot will be inside the mineral line to do some damage. It will eventually get picked off, obviously. And here we go. We finally have some reinforcing stalkers, but too little, too late, and WhiteRa will be forced to fall back. Wow, I thought for sure WhiteRa was going to take the game right there because that was such a well-disguised 4-gate, and obviously IdrA was buying time for roaches, and of course his natural expansion, his ramp right here, was shut down by force fields. But WhiteRa didn't really bring up the reinforcements as well as I thought he could have, and now he may actually pay the price. He's falling back. He is now going to transition into an expansion, but the question is he too far behind right now? I don't think he did enough damage with that 4-gate, and because of that, the Zerg player IdrA has been allowed to run on 2 bases for much longer than he should have. And of course, WhiteRa did not kill that many workers, so right now looks to be pretty even actually, 33 to 30. So perhaps WhiteRa was able to keep that drone production down by forcing IdrA to produce a ton of roaches and Zerglings where IdrA would not have normally. So now I guess the economy isn't too far off. But of course, IdrA already getting that 3rd base up and going. He's looking very, very strong. WhiteRa will have to fall back and rethink his strategy here. He is actually going to get a Stargate now. So he is evaluating his stance right now in this game. He knows that he can't really win a standard game at this point. Because his 4-gate failed, he's very far behind right now. So he's going to try to plop out a Stargate. I guess that's not the right word for Protoss. Protoss don't plop out buildings. Protoss warp in buildings. That's what Zerg do. I guess WhiteRa is going to warp in a Stargate here, and he's going to try to get a Void Ray out, perhaps Phoenix, but I don't think that's going to be the unit of choice. Obviously, Void Rays can pick off the Zerg right now, where the Zerg is very weak to air, but IdrA so wisely is going to bring the Overseer in, and he is going to see the Stargate. What a beautiful play by IdrA. And IdrA now knows that he needs to get some anti-air, and he needs to get it fast. This Overseer will go down, but that sacrifice right there, the blood and guts of that Overseer falling on the ground, could very well have just saved IdrA the game. Because as you guys can see, the Chrono Boost is now being used on the Void Ray, but we should have some anti-air coming up. Where is it? Where is it? This looks like, yeah, it's going to be a Hydraless Den. So IdrA is going to get Hydras out, and I'm pretty sure he should be fine against Void Rays. He already has a Queen at every single base, including his up-and-coming new 3rd expansion. And of course, we should see a couple of Hydras coming out very, very soon. Let's see. The Hydraless Den is definitely down, but he is not pumping any Hydras. I guess he's going to rely solely on his Queen defense, and perhaps he's betting on the fact that the Void Rays are not going to be a full commitment, because WhiteRa obviously revealed the technology to the Overseer. I bet IdrA is now thinking that WhiteRa will not produce more than 1 Void Ray, which doesn't seem to be the case. We actually do have a 2nd Void Ray coming out, but I still think IdrA should be just fine. It looks like the Queen will deflect this Void Ray for now. And WhiteRa, really, his strategy, his switch up, not working as well as he wanted it to. So now he's going to once again go for another tech switch. He is going to go to Robotics Facility and Robotics Support Bay. I don't believe IdrA saw that. So no, IdrA never saw that with the Overseer. So WhiteRa is definitely playing catch up right now. He's trying to transition back down into a standard play with Colossus. And he's building Colossus because he expects IdrA to get a bunch of Hydras, and that does seem to be the case now. IdrA is making about 7 or so Hydras. So, WhiteRa doing pretty good, but he's still got a lot of catching up to do. We can see that he's still behind in the economy, 56, under 62. This Void Ray is still roaming the skies, really unopposed right now. IdrA has pretty much conceded control of the air to the Protoss forces, and of course WhiteRa is going to happily take any advantage he can get. He's going to pick off all the units at the Xel'Naga watchtowers, and at the same time, it looks like he's going to push this Overlord away. But IdrA, of course, does know that there is a 3rd expansion coming up. So now it's up to IdrA. He needs to either get a 4th base coming up now, or he needs to make an attack. And it really looks like, based on the movement of his troops, he is thinking about making an attack here. He's spread the creep very, very far down south. He does have speedlings. He's got a ton of Hydras coming up. I would be very surprised if IdrA does not make some kind of an assault on this Protoss 3rd expansion before saturation really starts to kick in. I would be really, really surprised. Either that or IdrA's going to go for a 4th. But I really think IdrA, it's time for the Zerg to attack. This is when the Zerg loves it best, in the mid to late game, when their economy is fully established and they have the forces necessary to make strikes count against the Protoss arsenal. I really think IdrA is going to make an attack here. It looks like his forces are starting to group up. He is on the creep. He's slowly advancing that creep forward. I think the one thing he's waiting for here, ladies and gentlemen, is just the creep to spread so he has somewhere to fall back with those slow Hydras. But patience may be getting the better of him here. He's really starting to inch his way forward. WhiteRa at 133 supply, IdrA at maxed out 200. So that's the price that the Protoss forces pay when they just have the tech switch all around, going from Stargate, originally going from the failed 4-gate to the Stargate, and then tech switching right back down to Colossus. It's just too many technology routes for the Protoss arsenal, and because of that, WhiteRa will just basically lose this game to a Zerg steamroll, and WhiteRa is going to GG out of here. So IdrA wins that game quite convincingly. WhiteRa almost did it with the starting 4-gate, and we almost saw IdrA, I would have assumed IdrA to explode, as he usually does. He's one of my favorite Zerg players, but he really does explode whenever he loses, but we didn't see that this game. We are going to move on to the next game. This is, I believe, a best of 3 series in the IM, and we actually see that WhiteRa was going for a Twilight Council, so supposedly WhiteRa was going to go for the 4th and final technology route, which was either Templars or Dark Templars. So really, WhiteRa stretching it thin there, and I think that's what cost him the game. Just too many different routes, too many different things that it just doesn't work. You got to choose 1 or 2 if you're Protoss, especially in the mid to early game. You just can't go for all these different technologies. It just won't work, and that's where I just showed him who's boss. So that is going to be game number 1. I hope you guys enjoyed this broadcast. HD will be signing out, and stay tuned for game number 2.